I'm a non-one. I'm a non-one. I call up a girl 50 times a day. I'm a non-one. I'm a non-one. My mouth never has the right words to say. I'm a non.
This guy said, my recent experience has shown me if you have a great date and you don't text her after for 4 days, she will assume you're not interested and be quite offended. I am now doing damage control on a situation like that. So one of the things that I tell you guys is when you don't need to be consistently texting a woman all the time. What you should be doing ideally is you take her out on that date, you show her a great time. At the end of the night, you say, I had a great time. You give her a hug, and then you go. And then you wait a minimum of 4 days before you contact her again to ask her for another date. Now, part of the reason I tell you guys to wait that long is because we need to get a good reading on where her interest is in you. And what I found is that if you wait, if you have in your mind to wait 4 days before you contact a woman, you'll be able to read her interest by this. If after, like, simple thing, immediately after the date, like I've had this happen where I'll take a woman on a good date, have a good time. At the end of the date, I just go home. I get back home, I'm watching TV. 3 hours after the date, I'll get a text. Hey, Harry, just want you to know that I had a really great time tonight, and I look forward to seeing you again over this and that. Okay, great. So because I didn't do the whole after date text thing, I was able to get a read from her that she's highly interested. She texts me immediately afterwards, so I don't have to guess at that. What would have happened if I would have sent her a text? Well, if you talk to most women actually get freaked out by a guy that is texting so soon after a date and is trying to automatically start the text chain of like texting her all the time, calling all the time, yada, yada, yada. At that point, when that happens, a woman automatically kind of knows that, oh, this guy likes me a whole lot. And then her interest starts to fade. Because for women, you asking her on the date is already a read for her that you like her. But she's not quite ready to know or feel the intense level of like you've probably developed for her by the end of that date. All right. I know you after 1 or 2 dates, you're already like gung-ho on this woman and you're ready to claim her as the girlfriend. But when you do actions like texting her right away, that gives off relationship vibes to women. And it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings and feel those same kind of things. So when you start doing what I call relationship type activities so soon after a date, it can cause them to start to fade out. This is why you may have experienced where you'll take a woman on a date right after the date. You get in the car. Hey, I'm texting from my car. I just want you to know I had a great time, blah, 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 blah. And then you text her like that whole next day. And then after that, the text drop off. Why does that happen? Because like I tell you guys all the time, texting kills attraction. And part of the reason of that is because it gives off the indication for a woman that you're ready for a relationship with her way too soon. So if you wait 4 days or just have in your head, I'm going to wait 4 days before I contact her for another date, which indicates that you are actually interested enough because you're going to ask her out on a date in 4 days, then you'll find, depending on how fast a woman texts you, you'll be able to get an idea of where her like is. If she texts you like immediately after you get home from a date, she probably has like a 70% interest, which is a good place to start from. If she waits like 2 or 3 days, it might be like, when the date ended, she was at 65, but then over the next few days, you weren't texting her and it was making her apprehensive of like, what, does he like me? Is he interested? Was I good enough on the date? Why isn't he contacting me? I've gone out with 3 other guys this week that all contact me back right away, but I'm worrying about this guy. What's the deal? And you can actually raise her interest from like 65 to 70 in the span of that 4 days simply by not letting her know for sure where she stands with you. All right. And then if she doesn't contact you at all, but when you hit her up on day 4 for that date and she says yes, then her like's probably at 65, meaning you got some work to do on that second date, but she said yes. All right. So all that to say, this guy ran up against the problem that you'll probably start to have when you first start implementing this, which is you waited the 4 days. And then when you text her, she has a problem. So he clarifies, he says, because he texted her back and was apologizing and being all sorry. I said to him, like, I'm curious, like what you said in terms of putting, damage control together. And what he said was, I just said, I felt like there may have been a miscommunication and that we would both be missing out if we don't meet up again. I just sent the one message and that was this morning. She replied saying she will hit me back after work and when she has more time to consider her message. He says her initial message to me wasn't rude, but she said, quote, I want to take some time out of dating. I know what that means, LOL. But the fact of the matter is we had an amazing date, and it was to the point where onlookers were taking notice and making comments about our chemistry. So, for one, she's lying because she now says, I want to take some time out of dating. But 4 days ago, they were on a date. So this is what women will do and say. This is why I tell you guys, I said in the previous podcast, like women don't lie, men don't listen. This is a signal for I'm no longer interested, because the whole I'm taking some time out of dating is a lie. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been on a date 4 days ago. And nothing bad happened in that 4 days that would make her all of a sudden be like, I just want to not date anymore right for the moment. So the reality is she lost interest, which is fine. But the point is, the whole thing of him trying to go to her and say, oh, there was miscommunication, blah, blah, blah. This is why I tell you, if you wait 4 days to contact a woman, there's going to be a crap test that comes with that, okay? And the crap test is going to be, if I show this guy that I was rattled by the fact that he didn't contact me for 4 days, how is he going to respond? And it's not even she's looking for a particular response. She just wants to see what the response is going to be. So if you do like this guy, which is, oh, I'm so sorry, and there was probably miscommunication, yada, 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 that is simp behavior. Women don't want simps. So when he said all this, basically in her head, it's like, oh, this guy is clearly infatuated with me, and he's letting me show him that I was bothered by it, even though she probably really wasn't. It was more like an ego thing to her. But the point is, now she knows that he really has her on a pedestal, or maybe he was playing some kind of game to try to, mess with her feelings and do whatever. And you come across as looking weak. You cannot let a woman's response to you waiting for 4 days to call her make you look weak, and thus you failing the test. So he even says, honestly, I think she expected more interaction with me after the date and felt some kind of way that I didn't hit her up. Well, the answer is she definitely felt some kind of way, but here's the thing. It wasn't the thing you're thinking she felt, which is this guy's so horrible, yada, yada, yada. Again, most women, when they go on these first dates, they have an expectation that these guys are going to contact them, but it's not an expectation she has in a positive frame of mind, okay? She's expecting it because her whole life, every time she's gone on a first date, most guys have contacted her back within 1 to 2 hours of the date and then text her consistently for the next 3 or 4 days. And my question to you is this: where are those guys now? The answer is that they're out. She lost interest in part because women sometimes aren't aware that all this texting that they think they want is actually causing them to view guys in a light that turns them off. Because a guy that's consistently texting all the time is not a confident guy, is not a guy that's not needy, is not a guy that has other options or has other things going on in his life to where she's not the high priority, which women should never be the top priority when you're trying to date. I know it sounds weird, but like your goals and your purpose should always be a priority. Women should be the, hey, if I got time to get away from my goals, I'm going to make some time to hook up with a woman or go out on a date. And then it's back to my focus being over here. At the point that you focus on women, you are out, because then all the energy that you're putting towards that is showing her that she's on a pedestal, that she's the high prize. And women don't like to be in that position. So, yeah. So if this had been me, if this woman had said to me, I hit her up after 4 days and say, hey, I want to take you on another date. And her first response back was, well, you didn't text me for 4 days. And I feel quite hurt by that. She'd be out. Like, I'm not trying to beg her into my good graces. Based on her reaction, I'm already seeing that she's going to be a very structured individual, and I'm out. And this is actually another reason why you actually want to do the 4 days to text her or call her for another date test, is because just like women have tests for us guys, you need to have things that you can test about women that's going to determine what their temperament is, how they handle, situations that are out of their control, what happens when they don't get their way. And this is like the earliest way for you to do that. So if you contact a girl for 4 days and you're all happy and gung-ho, like, hey, it's been 4 days, you're thinking in your head, I'm going to ask her out on a date and show another good time. And you hit her up, hey, I was thinking we could go get dinner here or go to this movie or this and that. And her first response back to you, when you're actually coming back to her and saying, hey, I'm interested enough in a second date to take you out for a good time, to spend my money, to spend my energy, her response is, well, you didn't text me for 4 days. And what's that about? And you must be playing games. And, well, that really made me feel some kind of way. And I'm going to take some time off of dating. Dude, you dodged the bullet. Like, you seriously dodged a woman that's going to, in the long run, probably nag you and be all over you for dumb stuff in a relationship, okay? So don't think that this is a bad thing. The fact that this woman reacted this way is actually a good thing, because it lets this guy know early on that this woman is too structured and can't handle when things aren't going her way. She can't handle not knowing if a guy likes her for 4 days. after a first date, like she deserves to be put to the wayside. So good for him for doing this test. And I say to this guy, don't be upset that she reacted this way. Just recognize that she's showing her true colors by reacting this way. And I'll tell you now, as a man that has dated a lot of women, I have yet to go out with a woman and wait 4 to 5 days to call her and have her react in a negative way that didn't turn out her being like a nag later on. Versus the women I've dated where I've sometimes gone more over I've literally gone like taking a woman out before, waited 2 weeks to contact her because I had other stuff going on. That's the thing. The thing is this, is that women that like you and have a high interest will be able to make excuses and understand that realistically, you may have other stuff going on. Hey, for all we know, for all this woman knows, this guy could have had a good date with her, and then his mom could have gotten in the hospital. He could have had an out-of-town trip. He could have been taking other women out on dates to vet them. But the point is, he could have had other things going on to where her being so butthurt after not hearing from him for 4 days is not really warranted. So he dodged the bullet. Good for him.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.